We're good.
I'm not. Perfect.
All right. Okay, we will call to order this meeting of the Park City Board of Education today, October 20th at 4 p.m. Start with the pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. We will start with 2.01, the consent agenda. I'll entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda, which contains regular session minutes of September 15th, work session minutes of October 6th, closed session minutes of September 15th and October 6th, the account payable registers September 8th, 11th, 15th, 18th, 22nd, 25th, 26th, 27th, 29th, September 30th, October 2nd, and October 6th. Personnel information, lease agreement extension, contract, and September expenses and revenues.
I make a motion to approve the consent agenda as read.
Second?
Okay, motion made by Wendy and seconded by Ann. Do we have any discussion on any of these items?
Do not.
No, I do not.
Okay, I do not. All those in favor of approving the consent agenda, please say aye.
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 Okay, that is unanimous with 3 ayes. We will move on to employee group reports. Amanda, do you want to join us?
Stand, if that's okay.
Sure.
Stand all day. PCA appreciates that the board saw the need for additional time for PCHS and TMJH teachers to work with their remote learners and created the remote contact time that begins this Friday at the high school and at Treasure. Workload continues to be a concern for PCEA at the elementary school and at Ecker. We look forward to working with the board and the district office to find creative solutions so that teachers can continue to be student-focused and provide the quality instruction that is a hallmark of PCSD.
Awesome. Yeah, we welcome the input and suggestions. I mean, obviously, we're happy to make changes as needed and recognize what you guys are going through as much as we can without being there every day, but
Yeah.
Bring us the ideas and we're happy to look into it.
Okay, great. Thank you so much.
Thanks. Who's first today, Dr. Hunt or Mr. Tanner?
I'm going first, right?
Yeah.
I have a short report today, but I wanted to just take a minute to update the board on a few things that I think will be helpful in understanding some of the efforts we're making this year around supporting our learners right at the beginning of the school year, particularly in this unusual school year. So as we approach the end of the quarter for our secondary schools and we're nearing completion of the trimester for our elementary schools, there are some specific things that I'd like to share with you. In each of our elementary schools, we do beginning of the year assessments, and typically we do those in October. But this year we wanted to make sure that those assessments were completed right at the beginning of the year. The reason for that is that we utilize that data to be able to understand potential areas that we can support our students who may have areas of need, or we weren't sure what learning loss might look like after having closed this last spring for COVID. I'm happy to report that all of that beginning of the year assessment has been completed, and we developed a great plan with our interventionists to be able to utilize it and target students for support right off the bat. Now that we have all of this beginning of the year data, I am happy to report that we have found that the majority of our students are experiencing average growth, which means that some of our concerns about where students would be when we reported for school this fall is not as significant as we might have once thought. But it also means that there's a great opportunity for us to focus on helping those students who need significant support so that they can have higher than expected growth to be able to meet benchmarks for this year. I'm also pleased to report that our secondary schools have been focused on working with students that need to remediate any grades that maybe they took a passing grade or had a failing grade last semester during remote learning. Our secondary students are being supported specifically to make sure that they make up any necessary credits. And I do want to acknowledge and thank you for your support in providing additional time on Fridays for our teachers at the junior high and the high school. This gives them time to be able to work with those students who need it most, and particularly with our hybrid and remote students, to help ensure that they're addressing their needs and that they're connecting with them regularly. At the completion of quarter one in our secondary schools, we've worked with families to be able to help them select a new learning option for the new quarter. Those selections have been made, and most families are participating in some version of all three of those options. While this is the right thing to do for our students, it really does make scheduling classes complex, and it really is a taxing responsibility on our teachers. But we appreciate the diligent work that they are showing to manage multiple formats for learning. And the work of our teachers is appreciated and valued. Our elementary students and families are now making their selections for second trimester, which will start in November. Early selections indicate that the majority of our students who have been learning remotely will be returning to school for face-to-face instruction. I believe that's due to the excellent work that we've done in our elementary schools to continue to stress healthy hygiene protocols for our students, including wearing their face masks properly, frequently washing hands, and maintaining a physical distance. We appreciate our elementary school teachers and appreciate that they're helping our students learn and practice these new protocols. And also would appreciate any ideas that they may have to help support and address some of their concerns as we move forward with our learning. In closing, I want to share that our focus continues to be on creating opportunities to continue learning, regardless of the environment and in this very unusual time. Our priorities, as Dr. Gildays outlined in previous board meetings, continue to be to utilize learning data to ensure equity for our students, to be able to employ health and safety protocols so that we can support student attendance, and then to provide timely information and collaborative opportunities that will help to ensure family and community engagement. Thank you. Do you have any questions today?
I just have a quick one. Those assessments you did at the beginning, you're doing them again when?
We do them 3 times a year
Okay.
as
So
benchmarks.
did you alter the other times?
They will be given at more traditional times.
Okay.
What we wanted was a beginning benchmark to be able to progress monitor till we get to mid-year.
So 2 more times.
Yeah, we'll have 2 more.
So what are the actual numbers on kids returning, or rough percentages of kids who are remote who are going to come back based on the
So the high school and the junior high vary quite a bit because they're taking a couple different types of options. The elementary school right now, the polling has been open for about 6 days, and I'm seeing that more than half of the people who have requested a change, and of those who requested a change, they are all coming back. So we expect to see quite a few.
And then the high school and treasure are later, or are they?
No, they're completed, but what happened there was that depending on the student's schedule, they might be in a hybrid situation, but we're already in a hybrid, so it was hard for me to be able to see.
What about the kids who are struggling, or that you mentioned? What's the options for remediation there? I mean, I've spoken to some teachers, and they're definitely concerned that especially some of the remote learners are falling behind. What can we do there?
Yeah, so when we're talking about our elementary students, one of the things that we elected to do early on was to designate remote learning teachers that were specific to teaching remote classes. That allowed us then to put each grade level at a school, and then to be able to have the interventionists at that school site supporting the students that were also participating in remote learning. So our interventionists have been working with the teachers. We did test all of our remote learning students too, so they have their data and know the students that need tiered support, and have been providing additional support for those students that are learning remotely. In our secondary schools, this looks like additional support that's now coming in the way of additional time, so that teachers can actually be checking in more frequently with the students. And then I know the high school is also utilizing or repurposing some of their TSSA money that will be in the board approval in November to be able to hire some additional support to work on credit recovery for those students who are struggling with remote learning. So they've pulled data and know exactly who they are and are targeting them individually for support.
So is there a concern, maybe this is a better question for Mike, but the returning students and the health, the protocols at school, is there a large concern there?
No, I think
Limited
that,
spaces and with the added winter coming and all of that.
yeah, you know, any people that we add to any situation right now create more germs, right, or more exposure. But what we have found with our students is that generally they're very compliant and have been really solid in making sure that they're following all of our processes. In our elementary in particular, we kept those spaces available for them. So just because they went to remote learning didn't mean that we didn't keep those class space for them. So they all have a space to return, and it will impact the classes. It will make the distancing between them smaller. But we do continue to focus on layered mitigation to be able to make sure that we're doing everything we can to keep students safe.
How are we doing on subs? Like, continue here.
One of the contracts you just passed tonight, that contract was for something called edustaff. I was not on the committee, so I don't know a lot of details about the group, but I know that they will come in, they will do additional recruitment, supervision, more frequent pay rate. We pay once a month, they pay more frequently, I think it's twice a month. Things to encourage, people coming into the schools to sub. They do training and all kinds of things to make it fun for the sub pool. So we're going to see if that helps. Subs have been a question I think every month since I've been here. So we're trying something. So I'm going to try it and see. We do have 3 of the permanent subs hired, which is great, and we have I think 1 more in the pipeline. So that I think will also help. I know that they've been very helpful at Ecker. It's been really helpful to have the permanent stuff. So we're moving along. But yeah, that's one of the contracts that you guys just approved. So it's something that will be.
I just think, if we need more permanent subs, especially with the teachers struggling, let's move on it sooner than later.
Yeah, they've been great. We've gotten some excellent candidates. I've been really happy with them.
Ann, anything from you?
No, all set, but thank you to everyone in the schools for keeping them open and safe. It's really amazing.
Great.
Thanks, Ann.
Thanks.
Andrew, can you bring me back?
No,
Or actually,
you're gonna listen to-
Tanner?
You're going to listen to Mr. Tanner.
Okay, thanks.
Whether you like it or not. Good afternoon. From the operations side of the house, I'm pleased to tell you that things are still running very smoothly considering the challenges that our teams are facing. Todd, and Rich, and John, and their team are just doing a bang-up job getting things knocked out and moving forward. As challenges present themselves, they knock them down, and I'm pleased to report that things are going as smoothly as can possibly be with all the challenges we're facing right now. Security side of the house, just want to give you a quick brief on the Summit County COVID status. We're in the new status moderate right now, and the positivity rate, which is the percentage of people who present for a test who come in and actually positive, is 8.02% right now as of yesterday. The target is 5 or less, so we're on the high side, but we're not blowing out the roof as are some of the counties around us in the state. Our school mitigation efforts seem to be working. If you watch the Health Attend model, you can see that as we get a spike, we're able to bring it back down, and we're not seeing transmissivity happen within our student population, so that's a real bonus for us. The state, though, is going through a resurgence, and you've probably heard of COVID cases with day-over-day incidence growth. The university system's ICU capacity is 105% right now, so we're maxed out. Our hospital here, the 4 beds we have are maxed out, and the system is surging right now. So the governor, recognizing these statistics, came out with a new plan on Friday of last week and changed us from the green, yellow, orange, red status to a 3-tiered low, moderate, and high-risk status. And right now we're in moderate status. We may, with our statistics, elevate into the high status, but next week. It's evaluated on Wednesdays. But operationally, that really won't do anything to us right now. got masks protocols in place in all our schools, and all our mitigation procedures are fine. It really just applies to local gathering numbers, going from 25 down to 10 for local gathering. So right now we're moderate, and we're seeing our ability to control the COVID so far successfully within our facilities, and we're posting those numbers nightly with the health attendant refresh that we see. With the new state system, if we do have a surge in cases here, it only takes 1 week of that surge to move us into the next higher category from moderate to high risk. For it to come back the other way, though, we have 2 weeks of declining statistics because of the incubation period of the virus to allow it to come back down. So we do come back up, but we won't come back down for 2 weeks. The Health 10 dashboard we launched a little over a week ago, and I'm sure that the board has seen that. Very well received after some initial glitches were worked out. It's refreshed nightly at about 9:50 p.m. And the statistics speak for themselves. I'm very pleased with what we're seeing. From a buildings and grounds perspective, as the district transitions into colder weather where kids are spending more time indoors, we're emphasizing with our building leaders to really emphasize the COVID procedures to help us out there. One challenge that we run into is with the HVAC system. As we mentioned early on in this process, air quality is one of our focuses. And as we start to heat the air versus bringing outside air in and trying to maintain some level of efficiency there, it's a challenge to push enough air flow through the schools. We've actually had to re-engineer the logic on our carrier control system to allow us to circumvent some ecology protocol that's built into our code to allow us to push heated air through the buildings at the volume we want it to go through, still maintaining COVID protection, but kind of balance it with ecology. We don't want to heat air and have it shoot right out the chimney. We're just throwing dollars out, so we're finding that sweet spot between appropriate air circulation and conservation. As a result, we're going to probably have a little cooler temperatures in the room, which isn't necessarily bad here in the wintertime. Particularly the kids and staff who run PPE, it might make them feel more comfortable. So we can anticipate seeing some of that in the classrooms. Transportation side of the house, things are going well. We're starting to see our driver numbers improving with 2 new people in the pipeline right now. Our space available transportation is underway right now in all of our sectors. Within COVID capacity constraints, we're still doing more than 2 per seat, but where we can pick up space available students and get them on the bus within those capacity constraints, we're supporting that. Child nutrition services continues to knock it out of the park by dovetailing their delivery model to the mitigation strategies created by the building principals. We are working with EATS right now to transition away from polystyrene products to compostable paper packaging for our meals. And they stepped up graciously with a grant opportunity for us to pay for the differential between cost of polystyrene and paper. And we're also examining the USDA program that would extend free lunches to everyone in the district, possibly through the end of the year. And we're seeing how we can possibly dovetail with that. And that's under analysis right now by John Hopkins. The human resources side of the house, as you know, we've selected a new director. That person will start beginning of next year. As Dr. Jill mentioned, we completed an RFP for a sub system, and the contractor was awarded tonight, so we're hoping to see some great things from the staff there. And we're currently working with the Summit County Health Department and a grant opportunity through the Park City Community Foundation to try to secure funding for an additional nurse to allow us to rapid test within our facilities for our staff members and our kids. So we're looking through that. So any operational questions?
Hey, Mike, I do have one question. If Park City or some county goes too high, will that result in a lockdown, kind of like what we saw in the spring with essential businesses only?
No, as far as operationally for the schools, we're really essentially in a kind of almost a lockdown mode the way we're operating our mitigation strategies right now. So for the schools, the impact on the schools, we won't see that, but it will reduce the number of allowing for outside gatherings outside of official restaurants and those kinds of things, like personal gatherings from 25 down to 10.
Okay. But you don't, okay, I guess if it went to what we experienced in the spring where everything was shut down, it was essential business only, what would happen to the schools in it?
Yeah,
scenario?
the schools would not shut down. Unless we see a spiked incidents within the schools, we won't shut down.
Got it. Okay, so that's, school is an essential
Right.
business. Okay, thank you.
Great, thank you very much.
Okay. We've got a presentation for you up on the board tonight. Energy conservation has come back to the forefront here in Park City. It's always been one of our initiatives. But we just want to take a few minutes from the operational side of the house to recap for the board what we've done in the past and what we're doing moving forward for energy conservation. So next slide, please. So everything we do on the operations side of the house, we look at it from an energy efficiency standpoint. Everything goes through that lens. So that's how we look at things. We're committed to energy efficiency here at Park City, obviously. We spent about $1 million a year in between electricity and gas, $673 last year in electricity and $302 in gas. But we have a responsibility to balance energy conservation and taxpayer responsibility. There's 1 million projects out there that we can take advantage of, but many of them don't have a positive business case for us to present to taxpayers. We can't put $1 million project out there and get a $500,000 payback and be responsible for the taxpayers. So we've got to balance that. One of the other challenges we face here at Park City is our facilities, while they're relatively new and in great shape and we've done what we can to retrofit them, they are older facilities. And so if people are expecting us to go to a net zero posture, it really would involve leveling and rebuilding our entire facility structure here in Park City. So we're trying to find the best place to be within that and making responsible choices with all of our infrastructure as we change things out. Any upgrades we do, if it's a boiler, if it's lighting, it's selected for max efficiency. And some of the business cases that we've examined from macro level projects like geothermal or solar have fallen short from a ROI perspective or a practicability perspective when being responsible to the taxpayers. The master facility process has allowed us to emphasize energy again, and that's one of the goals within the master facility planning process. And we've also will be in the process of selecting a construction architect, and one of the selection criteria will definitely be the emphasis on energy conservation. We've been going through a level of community collaboration as we had a couple about a month ago. The Earth and Sierra clubs, the student clubs came in here and talked to the board, and we've met with them twice since then to discuss their concerns. We also, within one of those meetings, met with the Park City Municipal Corporation sustainability folks to see what they're doing and comparing our work to theirs. And so we're really trying to feel out where we are as a district and where we can fit in with the city efforts and the county efforts for conservation. We've got a lot of stuff in place already that we've done, and I'll share those with you here in a minute or two. And we've looked at a lot of the macro level projects, like I mentioned, solar farms and geothermal in the past. And one of those that we've looked at and have executed on is water conservation. Nice picture of an irrigation control valve right here in front of our facilities, but what we had was a pretty dumb system in the past, right? We just turned the timer on, squirt a bunch of water on the soil, and hope for the best. And we'll get the next slide. So what we've done since that time is we put into a new system that cost $320,000, a weather track system, so the district invested in that. It's got a smart technology built into it where it looks at soil moisture, outside air temperature, relative humidity, and squirts out the appropriate amount of water at the appropriate amount of time to optimize plant growth, but not to waste water. It also tests the systems for leaks. Along with that, we use untreated reservoir water for our lawn irrigation. And we've also retrofitted our restrooms throughout the school district with auto flush valves and touchless faucets. Those things allow enough water to do the job, but not too much that we're losing a lot of it, and also keeps the temperature under control, that we're not just running hot water full steam. We're metering that out to keep the electrical load down. We've seen a significant savings with that program, but our water spend for FY20 was still $530,000, so it's a big investment we've got here. Another project that we've executed on, and Todd Hansen and his team have pieced this together over the last couple of years, with the last module going in last fall at high school, is a natural gas conservation system through a carrier control system that we run throughout the district. This is just an example of the boiler farm that is over at Eckerd Hill, and you can see that we've got every pump, every boiler, every electrical item within the system, we have the ability to touch it, monitor it, and program it to optimize efficiency. Our new boilers that are in place are greater than 90% efficient. Todd and his teams make sure they get tuned annually so they're operating as efficiently as possible. And the district has invested over $1 million in that carrier control system that I just mentioned to optimize schedules. One of the things I mentioned to you before, as COVID ops were kicking off, what we do at night is, as you know here, we typically have about a 30 to 40 degree differential between daytime and nighttime temperatures. And so we purge all of the inside air in the buildings at night. We suck into the cold air from the outside, and we allow that cold air to sink into the masonry, the tile, the metal. And then for our non-air conditioned buildings, that cool air then permeates onto the building throughout the rest of the day, so we get away without actually air conditioning the buildings. We really hope to assess the dollar payback on the carrier system this year, but as you know, we're operating our HVAC systems with a less efficient mindset of airflow through the buildings versus energy efficiency, just for safety purposes. We do purchase gas through a deregulated source for 4 of our schools, and that adds to our savings. And again, this is just kind of a picture of Ecker. You can see how we've got the different zones there. We can control the macro temperature of each one of the zones. We can reach out and touch each one of the furnace controls. And next slide, please. All the way down to actually the room level. We can control the fans in each one of the rooms and the temperature control valves. So awesome system. It's working well for us, and it's really helped us not only from an energy conservation perspective, but the ability to control things for COVID protocol. Another place that we've invested heavily for conservation is electricity. These are some pictures of the new LED lights out at Dozier that we put in this fall. If you've gone to any football games, you can see that we get a lot more light, but less splash out into the community. At about a fraction of the cost that we were paying for the lights that we had there before, so really well received. But just outside of Dozier, all of our exterior lights within the buildings are, outside the buildings, next slide please, are also are LED. All the LED lighting is also the interiors. There's a couple places within the high school and Treasure that we haven't switched out yet, mostly because we thought those were the first places we were going to go and do construction work. So we held off rather than investing now. We held off on those. So we still got those to go. All of exterior lighting is on a timer or photo cell to control the light usage. And inside the buildings, we got motion sensors for our interior lighting control. And I mentioned the carrier control of our building HVAC systems allows us to keep our AC charges in check. One of the interesting things that Todd also put in place were capacitors and harmonic filters at several of our buildings. And what happens is when, with the power company, when you have the time of the day when everybody's running their air conditioners and everybody's drawing on the system, the cost for electricity at that time period is very high. And the district was experiencing significant charges during those periods. So Todd and his team went in and put in these capacitors and harmonic filters, allowing the district to draw its own energy store during those peak periods rather than buying it from the marketplace. And there's a significant savings as a result of it. On the transportation side of the house, we've looked at things. We've got a significant transportation operation. This is a picture taken in our bus barn a few days ago. Next slide. And we've got, our fleet is transitioning towards mostly ultra-low emission diesel vehicles right now. Their emissions are lower than the average car, and each bus takes approximately 35 cars off the road. And we're rotating out the older, less efficient buses. Those are actually backup buses for us right now. They're not running much at all, but they'll be rotated off the property by 2023. We've also got 2 propane buses in the fleet for evaluation. Their emissions are similar to the ultra-low emission diesel buses. The payback for them was supposed to be they're a little cleaner, a little less maintenance associated with them, and it's supposed to be a little easier to maintain. The problem that we're finding with them in the mountainous terrain is they don't have the torque of diesel engines. So we've had successful deployments with them in the flat areas, but when they try to run up the hills, it's a challenge. We've also looked at electric buses and talked extensively with the city about their business case. An electric bus costs approximately $1 million. A diesel bus costs approximately $140,000. and it takes about 2 electric buses to do the work of 1 diesel, just because of our current reliability. So, and we need to build out the infrastructure or have some kind of joint venture with the city to utilize here. So right now, it's very difficult to put that business case together and present it to the board. But as the technology continues to improve and the business case improves, we'll certainly bring that to consideration. We've just transitioned some of our white fleet vehicles now to hybrids and also to leases. So you'll see the 2 new RAV4s out in the parking lot. Those are hybrids, and we get another third one that's showing up on the property this week. Okay, next slide. And also routing software to optimize energy use for our bus routes. All of our buildings recycle. We have recycle bins in all of them. We recycle fluorescent, incandescent, CFL bulbs, ballasts and batteries, and we just started compostable packing for lunches that I just mentioned that help with these. One of the recent studies that was done in 2017 involved solar on the rooftop of the high school. It was a 470 kilowatt rooftop photovoltaic system. The cost of that was about $1.1 million with a 20-year payback, so a 5% return on investment there. But the constraints were significant with snow load. And one of the things we're looking at now is Rocky Mountain Power is talking about reducing the electrical buyback per unit by 85%, which would instantly make this a 1,000-year payback versus a 20-year payback for the project. So we'll see where that goes legislatively. That's a consideration for us as well. Then, of course, at Park City, land is scarce. There are competing land use. You can imagine what the outcry would be from the town if we put a photo farm or a solar farm out on the North 40, that would not be well received. And so we've got to balance the aesthetics, competing land use also. Those are presented as a constraint. So as a business case, not a very good one at this point, but you know, the things keep changing in terms of technology and the marketplace, and so we'll continue to watch those. Next slide. We also looked into geothermal at one time. And the proposition is we take the fluid that's circulated throughout the buildings, either heat or cool, you pump it underground where the soil is at a constant temperature at a certain depth. Kind of like when you go into a cave, it's always the same temperature. Well, you put that fluid through there and either heats it or cools it depending on what time of year it is. And so you either have to raise the temperature of that fluid very low or drop it very little to get it to the desired temperature. So you pump that fluid through the matrix, that's radiator matrix, it's buried in the soil. You tweak the temperature and you circulate it throughout your buildings. And it's a pretty neat system. But they are significantly expensive. And so they also involve digging up all of your soil in your lots. And so there are some challenges. And you know, Todd can probably describe to you the geyser that happened over at Edgar Hill when they probed the soil to see if it was possible to put geothermal there. And I don't know how you ever got it plugged up, but I heard a lot of smoke. It's quite a deal. It's got a high water table over there. That's one of the challenges. So again, this is something that we would really love to embrace, but there's a business case that we have to bring back to the community, the taxpayers, to be responsible. And so if there's a significant subsidy we can take advantage of, or the community wants to invest, we're happy to do that. That would significantly change the business case to allow us to record an execution on some of these. Transportation, I talked a little bit about the diesel versus electric issue there. I think it's something that we will continue to put an eye on and continue to pick the brains of our community partners here who already have an industry-leading system in place. And over time, this relationship will change, right? You're seeing it with Teslas now, and some of the other things that will make it more attractive for us to start bringing electric buses in versus diesel bus. Right now, for us, and the size of our fleet, if I got to replace 30 diesel buses with 60 electric buses, we're talking $60 million investment, plus the infrastructure to support it, plus the change in repair rules and all those kinds of things. So it's a big initial investment, and one that, unless we get some kind of significant subsidy, I can't recommend at this point. But as the technology improves and grant opportunities present themselves and costs continue to lower as they do with technological evolution, we'll certainly continue to watch that closely to see if we can take advantage of this district. So our recommendations going forward is we'll continue to keep our energy focused on all of our capital projects, everything that we're doing for the master facility planning process, is going to be looked at through that lens and scrutinized. Where we can make tweaks, we will, or we can present a positive business case, energy-wise, to the district, we will, or we can take advantage of a grant opportunity, we'll do that. And one thing that's emerging that's of quite a bit of interest, you may have heard about this, is House Bill 411. And there is a conglomerate of, I think it's 21 or 22 municipalities, and Park City Municipal Corporation, along with the county, are participating in this. We would be able to buy into this. And what it is, it's a purchasing cooperative of clean energy produced from renewable sources across 7 different states. And so it's wind, geothermal, and solar being pushed through the Rocky Mountain Power Grid for people who are participating in this purchase. And so the price that they're presenting is actually very competitive to current market rates for electricity and a lot more stable. So we'll keep an eye on this. This is supposed to come to fruition here in about 2 years. If we can piggyback on the work that Park City Municipal Corporation, the county, are doing already, we'll certainly present that to the board for consideration. We'll continue to evaluate all our energy projects that have an attractive ROI, return on investment, and bring those to you. We'll keep an eye on the Rocky Mountain Power Blue Sky grant opportunities. There's things that present themselves for replacing the boiler, putting in solar, putting in different lighting systems that are made feasible financially with that grant. And we'll continue to reconsider our formal energy posture as the economics, technology, regulatory environments evolve and grant opportunities. So that's where we're at. Any questions?
Thanks for putting this all together.
Wow.
Yeah.
And any questions?
No, I'm like, wow, really, that's amazing. It's incredible. Thank you.
Wendy? What, so is there any opportunity to do, because I know that the city can get massive subsidies on the buses and things like that. Is there any opportunity to do a JV on part of our fleet and have better utilization for them, so have the city using them part of the day, us using them for a couple hours a day, that type of thing?
I'm sure if we get behind that effort and we start buying buses, I'm sure there would be an opportunity to participate in that. I know there's been some operational challenges with at least one of those systems going down at one point. I've heard anecdotal stories of that. So sure, I'm sure they'd be willing to reduce their fixed costs by having us share that with them. And that's something certainly we can explore. It's nice to have them as a community partner that already has been down this pathway, and we can really pick their brains if we decide to walk in that direction. But like I said, right now, the economics are so compelling that I'm recommending that we stay where we're currently at. And really, the low emissions diesel buses are actually really good, very low emissions, and it's a good place to be. And the other thing you got to remember is even if we use electrical buses, that electricity is being produced someplace. Probably having some kind of emissions as a result of that. So it's one of those things you have to balance, and if we choose to be an industry leader and move in that direction, we'll take that investment right now or see if we can get an opportunity. We're certainly all ears to walk down that pathway and do whatever the board and the community expect of us.
What's the biggest use of what's our biggest energy spend? Is it heating the buildings or?
It's natural gas. I'm sorry, it's 673,000. I think we said we spend in electricity, yeah. Yeah, 673 electric and 302 gas. So it's
Water, 500,000.
And the electricity is the lights and running mechanical and mechanical HVAC.
Electricity, water, then gas.
So it's not really the age of our buildings, it's more how efficient is our electricity usage.
yeah, I mean, the buildings that you see coming out now is net zero, where they're engineered from the ground up with solar systems, geothermal systems, and those things. Our buildings are not old by educational standards at all. In fact, we're very fortunate to have the facilities that we have here. But to retrofit them to get to a net zero standard is almost physically impossible based upon Todd's conversations with architects in the past. We'd be really better bulldoze and all of the rebuilding when we get to that standard. That's right.
Okay, cool. Thanks.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Dr. Gilday.
All right, October 15th marked the end of the first quarter of the 2021 school year, 44 days down, not that anyone is counting. I do want to thank our administrators, our teachers, our support staff members for incredible hard work, passion, and dedication to our students. I think everyone who's been part of the school year should be proud and stand tall, because whether our families have elected to attend school remotely, in person, or with some creative combinations, they've pulled together and kept students at the center of every decision. As Mike mentioned, our current county health trend data shows that schools overall across the county are remaining healthy, but our county trends place Summit County in the moderate toward the high transmission category currently. So as we are all mindful of COVID-19, it is time to be additionally diligent in our best practices to remain healthy, with the frequent hand washing, maintaining distance, wearing a face covering, wiping down frequently touched surfaces, healthy eating and sleep patterns. We've not talked a lot about, but all of those things are really important as we head into the colder temperatures and have more time indoors. At our schools, as Mike also mentioned, we have additional filtering and airflow settings that are helping to really keep that air moving and clean. And we are frequently cleaning the commonly touched surfaces. We are encouraging kids to sanitize and hand wash. We've been through about 120 gallons so far of hand sanitizer. Again, not that anyone's really counting, but happened to notice that. We're projecting about 800 gallons this year of use. Our kids and our staff are doing a great job of wearing the face coverings for the duration of the school day, other than brief breaks and then when we're actually eating at lunch. On October 1st, we submitted our enrollment membership for the 2021 school year to the State Department. And while we know our numbers fluctuate throughout the school year, overall our enrollments have remained consistent or within projection. Our overall student population, including preschool, is 4,840 students. We have 144 preschool students this year, 244 kindergartners, 311 first graders, 298 second graders, 320 third graders, 335 fourth graders, 356 fifth graders. I'm reading this to you to give you kind of that cohort, just so you get kind of a mindset of what the cohorts are looking like. 402 sixth graders, 364 seventh graders, 414 eighth graders, 404 ninth graders, 419 10th graders, 422 11th graders, and 407 seniors. We are 61 fewer students than the 1920 school year, and this number includes our remote, our in-person, and our preschool numbers. If we break that down by school, our largest school is, of course, the high school, 1,248. Our smallest school is Trailside with 390. Our preschool enrollments are pretty even among the 4 elementary schools. And we have 137 new students as part of PCSD this year, not including our kindergarten kids who are all new. When we look at trends over time, in 2013, the district enrolled 4,421 kids, K-12, and in 2017, the district enrolled 4,891, K-12. So we're kind of right in that normal sort of standard. And pretty much what was predicted and anticipated. So there is so much you saw earlier before we started the meeting, lots of great accolades with our 3 National Merit finalists, and lots of sports and activity accolades to end this first quarter. It's been successful by all accounts, but certainly not. We didn't bloom to the size that everybody in the community has been kind of nervous about. We're pretty standard, not too far off the projection, interestingly.
Yeah, makes me feel good.
Tom's pretty good at this.
Yeah, really interesting though, right, with how much
I got
in
it
and out.
right for the wrong reason.
Yeah, for how much in and out, it is kind of interesting. What Dr. Hunt mentioned is true though. This week, for example, we have gotten calls from families who went a different way to begin the year, like homeschool or private school option, who are actually electing to come back. So like I said, we know those numbers are going to fluctuate. On Sundays, Health Attend will pull
our enrollment numbers, so we'll be able to keep that dashboard kind of active too, which will be really fun. Right now, it's been static. Any questions?
So Trailside is a small school now?
Right now, 390, but McCollum's 399.
Yeah.
So they're
by
pretty
9
close.
students.
They're, yeah, by
Wow.
9 students.
So by
it's pretty close.
January, they'll be the same.
Yeah,
That's a
it's
big
pretty close.
leapfrog, though, right?
It's pretty close, what?
That's a big leapfrog.
That they've both come towards each other.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then Jeremy, of course, well, Parley's is 559 and Jeremy is 516. So, the competition is on because usually Jeremy is the biggest.
How many
Yep.
students are in Ecker on campus?
You know,
You
the-
have those stats?
The 6th and 7th, the class sizes are really enviable right now, kind of 22s and 23s for the most part in school, and then we do have the remote participation as well. But definitely it's the high school who has most of what we would call kind of a combination
Okay.
of students doing some in person, some online, some are all remote. The actual attendance each high school day is not 1,248, it's closer
Okay.
to like the 600 to 700, so there's plenty of room in that school for spacing out right now.
Okay.
Yeah, the times they gather, of course, is all the activities.
Yeah, yeah.
Yep,
Good job this first quarter, everyone.
Yeah,
It's been,
congrats.
Yeah, indeed.
I think it's exceeded everyone's expectations in terms of how smooth it's gone and the mitigation efforts have certainly worked. I think we can all be proud that we're open and doing the best for kids.
yeah, 2 cases only right now, I think, 2.
How many, Joe?
I think it's only,
How many?
I'm gonna double check, I think we're somewhere between 2 and 4 cases right now total, adults and kids. So we're really in a good spot right now, I will check that dashboard.
And I would also just want to echo that, just reading what's going on, one of the Utah schools made it to the New York Times the other day, and you kind of just see what else is going on around the country. I'm really proud of all the efforts the entire district and community has taken to make sure our kids are safe, and teachers and staff.
Thanks, yeah, what I love about the dashboard is we can be very proactive, we don't have to look at retrospective numbers, we can look at live in the moment numbers, so we have 2 active COVID cases right now, in this moment, which is awesome. And like I said, across the
4,900, right?
yeah, and across the county right now, all of the districts have at least one, but, Rich and the health department are feeling like we're managing very well with the school age group.
It's great.
So it's great news.
Great, awesome.
All right,
Thank
we will move
Thank
on
you.
to 4.01 LEA-specific educator licenses. So new state law, which now requires the LEA, which is the school board to monitor, approve exceptions or licenses in process. Is that a good summary? So we have some executive content here that has the number of educators, which is what, 30 or something? 25, we're in that range. Teachers who are getting specific certifications. We also have, so it's 30 individuals, I guess is what's in the letter. So approximately 30, which the administration will continue to monitor and make sure that they're in compliance and continuing to receive the training necessary to be in compliance. Do we have any questions on that from Ann or Wendy?
No, I have no questions.
Okay, we're going to get back to that right now, which is the actual policy 7096, which outlines this new policy as a result of Utah Administrative Rule R 277301. Goes over eligibility criteria, approval, support, mentoring, etc. Any conversations on that or questions?
I have a question. Who manages all of this, making sure every, box is ticked off and
We've got Veronica here, she's doing the Miss America wave, so Veronica.
Veronica in the back corner and
Veronica.
Amy
Hi,
and
Veronica.
Dr. Hunt are both waving to you.
Yes.
Okay. Oh, okay, good. I just wanted, it's a lot to manage, so it's great.
It is, the new rule does push this to school districts, and this is something that's been in the works for at least 6 months, if not longer, but Veronica has been to all of the trainings, she's been really our point person in the district on this, and she's always done a great job of helping everybody maintain their certifications, but now this is an even extra level of detail. Most of these are people who are new to the field or who have transferred in from out of state and just need to go through a couple of different steps before they're finalized.
Got it.
All right, so Wendy, do you have a question on that, or are you good?
No.
Okay, so I'll entertain a motion to post policy 7096 LEA specific licenses as presented.
I make the motion to post policy 7096, LEA specific license as presented.
Second?
Okay. Do we have any further discussion on this policy 7096?
Can I just make a note, Lori, on the policy for posting, it's noted as 7096, but on the tab, it's noted as 7095.
Yeah.
Okay, got it.
Yes, it should be 7096, sorry.
Okay, got it. I just wanted to make sure. Okay, that's the only thing I had.
Okay.
And then, sorry, the approval 2.1, the application must receive approval from the Board of Education in a public meeting. Is that would happen any public meeting or as they come up? We're not gonna have like a set, okay.
Personnel report.
Personal report, yeah, got it,
It'd be like a consent agenda item along with the hiring.
every time,
Yeah.
Okay.
Anyone who needs that extra
Got it.
accommodation.
great.
Great.
All right, all those in favor of approving policy 7096, please say aye.
Aye.
Bye.
Okay, that's posted. We'll get feedback on that next meeting. Now we will move to public comment. 8 minutes early, but I think we have one speaker. If you'd like to come up and join us.
Andrew, can you move the mic down there? so
Yeah.
I can hear? Okay, cool, thanks. Sorry, it's hard to hear.
Hi, Sarah.
Hi, knew it was me, huh?
Yep.
Even in the mask.
Okay, so my name is Sarah Altschuler. I am a Carly's parent and substitute teacher, and I'm the only substitute teacher right now. I know that you forwarded my email, to the rest of the board. I was glad to hear that we're doing something to try to get some subs, because it is extremely stressful. I mean, we've got specialists, paras, interventionists, they can't do their own jobs, right? And I have a baby, but I'm in almost every day. I don't want to be, but I feel that I am capable and that I should be in as much as I can. We did just hire a permanent sub, and I told you about that, but I'm not gonna talk about that right now. But I am concerned about what has happened up until this point with regards to people that have applied. So for example, there's a former PCSD teacher who has a master's in elementary education who had her application closed. She applied on April 26th. She was gonna come in. She was like, I'll sub 2 days a week, and she never heard anything, and they said it was closed. And I'm like, we can't function with one sub. I don't know what the lists say about how many people are available for Parley's. It's one, it's me. Nobody else accepts jobs. So I want you guys to understand what it's like there, and that this really, really needs to be a priority. And we can't be, I don't know, rejecting people I can't even figure out why. And she is so upset. She has donated hundreds of volunteer hours to the district. Her husband has donated many, many thousands of dollars directly to the school, to PCF. You just don't do this to people. I just want you to know that this is just not okay. I know Darren Houck has tried to go through the proper channels, but I figured this was a way for other people to understand what's going on at the school board level. And yeah, that's where we're at. Oh, wait, and I'm sorry. There was another thing that I'd emailed, and it relates to this in that, I mean, basically, teachers are feeling like they can't take any personal days, and everybody's just operating at full throttle, nonstop. It's super stressful. Teachers aren't taking their lunch breaks, right? I mean, you just can't keep operating like this. So I had mentioned, is it possible that we could consider something like having the entire week of Thanksgiving off? Like, everybody take a breath. Like, it's just not sustainable. And if that's not an option for this semester, can we consider some mitigation for the spring? Like, can we throw some breaks in there? I mean, I guess there's more in the spring, because we have 2 of them, but I don't know, it's rough. It's super rough.
Wow.
Perfect.
All right, well, so, a couple things. So one is we did look into whether we can take the Thanksgiving break off. We can't because it's too many days based on state mandated educational days. So we have to be more creative. I'm not sure if the solution to that is to provide some earlier outs at elementary school. I think, Amanda Lawling, who's, PCEA co-president, spoke earlier, and I think, hopefully she can bring, and her team can bring some ideas to the board and the administration about different things that we can do with regards to flexible time. I mentioned earlier the issue of subs, and that was, obviously, it's great info to hear from you as a parent who's volunteering your time and making that commitment, which is really selfless, and so thank you. But I think we do need, I think the board, we want to help teachers and we want to get more subs, and I don't know, I've had a bunch of conversations about this. I think part of the issue is probably that a lot of our subs traditionally are either retired teachers or people who have flexible schedules. I think those people are less likely to want to be in a school setting right now, which is understandable. As we know, most people don't, regardless of what your profession is, no one's really itching to go back into an office or go back into a workplace right now. So to try to convince people that